Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Well, something happened today that I actually, honestly, a few weeks back, I wasn't expecting it to happen this fast, but I think it's just showing us that the progression of things, the progression of this reset and the changing of our times is happening probably at a faster pace than we are aware of. We're going to get to that here in a minute, and I know I may sound, the title of this and everything that I'm saying may sound like I'm kind of blowing it out of proportion a little bit, but I don't think that I am. I think that this may be one of the more serious things that's happened over the last couple of years. I think that this is most definitely a big step forward or a big turn along the road that's going to take us down a very dangerous and destructive path, and we're going to get to that here in just a minute. Before I get started with that, I want to focus just a little bit on what's going on in China and Taiwan. Not so much specifically the actions, but the fact that I firmly believe that the Chinese are going to do something. I think that it's they have been put into a corner now that they don't really have much of another choice. If they expect to fulfill their dreams of being the dominant world power, I don't think they can only do that through economic means. I think they have to show the world that they are strong enough to take down the big giant, the United States. And I suspect that at some point we will start to see some military actions against the United States. And if nothing else, what they've done so far was not just a test to see, their own military capabilities and the reaction of the Taiwan government, but really the reaction of the United States government. And what I mean by that, if you have listened at all to any of the things that's been said over the past week by our own government, to be honest with you, it seemed to me to be very weak. Instead of taking a very firm stand and telling China what's going to happen to them if they take one step too much further, all we've heard is that we want to de-escalate. We want to ratchet this back. We don't want to cause any confrontation with China. Very much like an abused person might do in front of a big bully. That they just please stop. Please don't hurt us. Please, we want to comply and de-escalate this. That's the message that's come from the White House over the past week in regards to what China has been doing in Taiwan. And I think in the end, personally, that it was a win for China because they got to see just how resolute we are in being the dominant power, not just in the South Pacific, but also all around the world. And we have shown through the leadership, the United States has shown through its leadership in Washington and the Pentagon, that we just don't have that grit that we once did. I can think of several presidents in the past that would have handled this situation much, much differently. But unfortunately, we're left with a government that claims that they have power, that claims that they have the right to rule, that has no capability at all of standing up against the other big world superpower that we're now facing. So, could be wrong on this one, but I think that at some point, and probably in the near future, months, maybe 12 months, we're going to start seeing some more action out of China. I can't believe that they're just going to continue to wait. They've got to do something. They're having economic problems too, and if they wait too long, their economy is going to be in shambles, and they might have their own citizens turning against them. And so right now is probably one of the better times for them to take action, at least in the near future. And that, my folks, is just my opinion. Now, what I really want to talk about, and this is breaking news, this is very, very important, and it shocks me how few people already that I've seen online just don't seem to kind of get it. They're not really acutely aware of how serious this is. The Inflation Reduction Act passed the Senate. I spoke on this, I believe it was just Friday, of how the Senate said that they believed that they had enough votes, and the vote ended up being a 50-50, and so Kamala Harris had to come in and break the tie. But it goes on to the House, which it most assuredly will pass. I mean, the Democrats hold a much larger control of the House than they do the Senate, so it's believed that it will very quickly pass the House and will make its way to the president's desk later on this week, where he will absolutely sign it. He's already said that. So it's pretty much a done deal at this point. I can't imagine anything really stopping it. This is a $740 billion bill. Now, a lot of you might say, yeah, but it's a whole lot less than what they originally wanted. That's true. Originally, Biden wanted a $3.5 trillion bill called the Build Back Better plan. And that just wasn't able to get through. But it's not so much the spending. I mean, spending is certainly part of it, because we're spending like, just drunken sailors right now. We've spent over $60 billion in Ukraine. We're sending another $150 million to Eastern Africa, which brings our total to $6.6 billion as of this year, January of this year. And we're seeing other things. We're just spending, and there's no limit, it seems, to their spending. On a side note, I firmly believe that this spending that's happening is because they know things are collapsing. And so they're trying to get everything out of the system they can. Most of the spending is going to special interest groups and companies that are, favorable to this administration. So I think they're just trying to get every little, penny that they can out of everyone before they shut it all down, before it collapses down. But so we're only talking $740 billion, which is really a lot. I mean, some of you older folks, like my age, us old codgers, not any of you little young bucks, but us older codgers, we remember back in the, 20 years ago or so, or less than 20 years ago, when there was the banking bailout. And everyone about lost their mind, and it was only about $500 billion. And everyone just couldn't believe that we were spending that much money. Well, this is a $740 billion bailout, basically. This is money that's going to be spent in these green renewable industries. But it's more than just the money that's being spent. This will most certainly further and exacerbate and strengthen recession and inflation. I mean, we're already dealing with probably the worst inflation this country's ever seen, the real inflation. This will most definitely make things worse. Over the next few months, by the end of this year, I suspect we're going to start seeing inflation really go up. But there's more to it than that, folks. This is something that I've been telling you. This is what I was talking about Friday with this bill. This Inflation Reduction Act is the piece of legislation that is kickstarting the Great Reset, this fourth industrial revolution. This puts emissions caps at 40% goal to cap our emissions by 40% by the year 2030. That's in 7 years. So by 2030, the goal is to reduce our emissions down to 40%. There's a $25 billion part of this bill that is to basically pay farmers $25 billion to not produce food. There's an expansion on the Conservation Act so that more farmland is going to be absorbed into that. There's also provisions in there that the SEC will start regulating how the money is spent and how loans are done in the farming industry using ESG. Basically the environmental social governance, which is the kind of the new twist on social credit scores. So farmers will only be able to get loans and assistance based on this in certain different areas. This is absolutely going to devastate farming. In fact, the ESG provisions in this bill will be to encourage farmers to reduce, or ranchers to reduce, the size of their herds. That's right. So we have a spending bill that we've labeled it as a way to help farmers, because that's part of what they're saying. They're saying that this is going to help farmers. Except what it's going to do, it's going to, through the SEC, through trades and loans, encourage farmers to produce less, encourage ranchers to have less cattle. This is the exact same type of bill that has been going through and getting passed or trying to get passed in numerous other countries. And in almost every one of these countries that we've seen it happen in, they have started to fall and crumble. Just today, Madagascar, another one of the countries that have imposed these types of, Green New Deal, Great Reset types of regulations, has fallen into more and more chaos. There's rioting in the street. They're burning cars and buildings because fuel costs have gone up 75% in just a few days. Just a few days, everything is skyrocketing because they're running out. We've seen this, of course, in Sri Lanka, and we've seen it in Panama and Argentina. We've seen it throughout the whole world, really. Europe, obviously, is a big one that a lot of people are talking about. The Netherlands and Italy and Poland and Germany. And then we've got Australia and Canada putting these types of restrictions just recently on, and now the United States has fallen into step. So we're going to start seeing massive reductions, forced reductions from the government, forcing less being produced, okay? There's a whole lot more with this bill. There's also increased taxes, and they claimed that the selling point was that it was only going to increase taxes of people over $400,000, that they had to pay their fair share. The people out there that's actually creating real wealth, the business owners, the owners of tons and tons of small businesses all across America fall into that tax bracket. Many of you know that. So they're going to get higher taxes, but really it's going to trickle down and we're all going to be paying higher taxes. In fact, the estimate is that anyone making over $30,000 a year, which is the vast majority of the country, is going to experience higher taxes. They've also has a provision in there to hire 87,000 new IRS agents. Why is all this happening? I mean, they've been hoarding and purchasing millions of rounds of ammo over the last few years. They're expanding a lot the amount of IRS agents. They're putting all of these restrictions now on farming, on emissions, on the various types of chemicals and stuff that can be used in farming, and then they're going to pay farmers and ranchers not to produce. And we're doing this all in a moment in time where inflation is as high as it's ever been. The economy is really struggling. Shortages are everywhere. The weather has just not been very favorable to us. The supply chain has taken the biggest hits that we've ever seen in all of history. And we've got the second largest superpower in the world on the brink of starting a massive major war with us. And when that happens, I assure you, Russia and North Korea and probably Iran and maybe even a few other countries will be involved in that somehow. And so all this stuff and more is going on, and we're going to start imposing all of these restrictions on the very thing that provides the food for our life. Folks, again, I'm not trying to scare everyone, and I'm not trying to make something out of nothing. I am telling you that we should learn, and we should learn really well from what's happened very recently to other countries that have imposed this type of legislation on their people. It's not gone well. It's caused them to collapse. And going back to the most popular one of Sri Lanka, they completely collapsed, and they went in and put in a new prime minister and president. And guess what? They were World Economic Forum people. That's right. They were people that were praised by Klaus Schwab. They're all over their website, and those were the people that were put in Sri Lanka. And now, basically, you could say that the World Economic Forum completely owns and controls that country. That is, my friends, what the Great Reset is. They want to crash us down. They want to bring us down to zero, and then their plan will be implemented to pick us up out of the wallers and to bring us up and to create a new and better and more prosperous nation. But it'll be their way, under their control, with their people in power. Friends, this is not good at all. This is very bad. This may be one of the worst pieces of legislation that I've seen throughout all of this. It's time to get ready if you're not now. I don't know how else to encourage you to take a stand and to get your houses in order. This is really kind of getting to go time. I suspect by the end of this year we will start seeing some real repercussions of this. And then starting into next year's growing season, it could be quite devastating for a lot of farmers, because all of the stuff that's happening this year will most likely at least be carried into next year and probably be worse. And now we'll have all these new regulations and controls on farmers. Do you think this year is bad, folks? You ain't seen nothing yet. Just wait till next year gets here. Get your houses in order. Prepare yourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. Folks, you need to get ready. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.